happen to be on CODIS, that's where the police are going to look. There's a reason not to have your DNA on CODIS if you haven't committed a crime. Just like I don't have my fingerprints in the national fingerprint thing that I know of. I've never had a federal job. I don't think I've had my fingerprints there. But there's no doubt that people are picked up because of similar fingerprints, and they've been innocent, but their fingerprints looked like they were the ones that were left at the crime scene. So your privacy is something that's worth protecting, and you don't have to have somebody come knocking at your door at 3 o'clock in the morning because your DNA happened to have been on CODIS. Compact DNA analyzers may be available in a few years, allowing police to determine the DNA profile of someone they stop. If that profile is on CODIS, it could affect the officer's a priori belief in the guilt of an individual. So, the policeman says, oh, we've got your DNA. Yes, you are the person we think you are. But not only that, your DNA is on CODIS. That already sets up a belief structure that that person might have done something wrong. Finally, the fourth category in which you get implicated with your DNA on CODIS is research on race, ancestry, and crime. Some states permit research on DNA databanks. There is a history of racially biased research, such as false findings about an aggression gene among racial minorities, or cranial studies in crime or intelligence. All innocent persons may have their DNA profile on a databank, and without their permission, that profile could be used to do research that would not be permitted without consent in medical genetics. So we have a situation where the FBI and the police in certain states allow research on their DNA databanks, and innocent people who have their DNA profiles on there, who've never been convicted of a crime, are now in a situation where their DNA profile will be used for research. These databases are very inviting for studies on genetics and crime, or race and crime. Even though race is not defined in science, it will still be used in this type of research. Troy Duster's comment speaks well in this situation. Imagine such a data crunch based on the DNA of convicted criminals, given the preponderance of Black and Hispanic men in American prisons. It would be like going to the NFL and concluding that the DNA marker for sickle cell anemia associated with African ancestry makes you a good football player. Many of these studies are pure correlational studies. Just correlational studies. They have no causal significance. And yet that's the way that some social scientists are drawing information about DNA and physical characteristics, or DNA and intelligence, or DNA and aggression. And my last slide, the mere appearance of innocent minorities on DNA databanks, even as they never get charged with a crime, will impose a penumbra of bias by law enforcement officials toward these individuals. So that's one of the problems of whether we want to use the DNA databanks for what their original purpose was, which was to identify felons, people who commit violent crimes, on the databanks for the purpose of identification, and not beyond that, or whether we want to expand it to all other kinds of implications and research. And I think that's the point where we're at now, and I think that will be a critical point in determining whether or not we see an exacerbation of racial disparities in the criminal justice system. Thank you.